Hey everyone, here we are again with Pointed in the Right Direction. Today we have Gloria Munson with us, and Gloria has a pretty amazing story. She's lucky to be alive, and we are going to hear her story and get her thoughts on what it's like to be a finger amputee. And so, with that, Gloria, let's hear your story.
Well, my story is pretty scary, and I really don't even tell it around children because it's not something that you expect, and it's not something that happens every day. And it came out of the blue in about 5 minutes, changed my life forever. I've always been a dog lover, a dog rescuer, and we adopted this American bulldog named Petey. He was about 125 pounds, and he was the best. He became part of our family so fast, and he slept with us. He rode with us. He got along with the other dogs. We had a Chihuahua and a Old English Bulldog at the same time, and the three of them were just great buddies. And we had taken Petey camping, and everywhere we went, Petey was so beautiful that people would just rally around him because he was a superstar. I mean, superstar. And we were very cautious with him. We made sure his temperament was good, that, he's good with children, he's good with animals, and he passed everything, everything. So he was a rescue that came from West Virginia. They picked him up on the streets, and we got him, and we were instantly in love. And I was very worried about my little Chihuahua because he's only 10 pounds. And I thought, oh, this really scares me. But I watched them and I watched them, and they seemed to do fine, even though my Chihuahua was a little dominant. And I felt good about it. I would leave him alone when I went to work, and I'd come home and everything was fine. And this went on for 2 years. 2 years of falling in love deeply with this dog, and I loved him. The grandchildren loved him, and it was just a beautiful scenario until April the 20th, 2020. I had just got finished with a Bible study. I live in a huge old house built in 1938, and I was alone in the house. I was upstairs in a bedroom by myself, and we have recliners up there, and PD sleeps on the recliners. He had free reign of the whole house. He could sleep on couches or whatever. He slept in our bed. He was just part of our family. And I just happened to be walking through the room, just finished Bible study, so I knew where my phone was, and that's a big part. And all of a sudden, PD jumped off of the recliner, and he grabbed my Chihuahua in his mouth to kill. I knew it. I'm a mother. I knew I had 1 second to make up my mind. Are you going to save your Chihuahua, or are you just going to let him kill the Chihuahua in front of you? Being a mother like I am, I jumped, pulled the Chihuahua out of his mouth. The Chihuahua dropped from my hands and ran. The Chihuahua was very, very injured, and I didn't know to what extent, but at that point, I wasn't going to know for a long time. So as I dropped the Chihuahua, the dog started attacking me, started attacking my hands, my elbows, my arms, and he totally snapped one arm in half. I turned, he snapped the other arm in half. So now I have two arms snapped in half. He keeps biting me and starts detaching my hands, and just the force of his jaws, it was like I was in shock. But I knew whatever it was bad because I could not find my hands, my arms. Everything had just disappeared and went limp. Blood was all over my house, my ceiling, my floors, my walls. And I was in utter shock. I did not know what to do. So I kept backing up. And as I backed up, he would bite me more. I would back up, he would bite the other side. At this point, I really honestly thought that my arms were just going to fall off. I really felt that they were that severed. I knew that every bone was broken. There was bones sticking out of me. And it was like I was completely mutilated. I kept backing up, and I got into a bathroom. And I just literally thought to myself, I really am going to die. This dog's going to kill me. Well, I got in the bathtub. I reached with my feet and I got inside the bathtub, and I leaned over to the shower wall. And of course, blood was pouring from every direction. Petey stood still and looked at me, and he was completely covered in blood. I mean, he looked like Clifford the big red dog. And at that point, I don't even know how I spoke, but I said, Petey, go outside, thinking that he would do my commands and then he would just, leave. So when I said that, he looked at me and I looked at him, and I said, Petey, outside, outside, to try to bring him back to reality. And he did. He turned around and walked out of the bathroom. And when he did, I gathered up pieces of me, my arms, my hands, everything, just anything that I could get a hold of, because I didn't even know where everything was. And I slammed the door with my foot. And I said to myself, I need to get help. I'm in this house by myself. And I knew where my phone was, but that was the hardest part, because I didn't know how I was going to use the phone. At that point, I wasn't sure about voicemail or anything, and none of that was going through my head. I thought, I've got to dial the phone. I've either got to dial 911 or my husband or something. So I looked straight up at the ceiling and I said, Lord, I need you more than I've ever needed you in my life. Please help me. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't. I need help. I need help. And I literally just took pieces, and this sounds really bad, pieces of flesh and bone, and I laid it on top of my phone, which instantly covered in blood. And I just pushed with some warmth, and my husband's number popped right up. And I've never been so glad to see that in my entire life. He was about 10 minutes away down at Food Line at the grocery store. And I said, Petey has really hurt me bad. I need an ambulance. He left his groceries, came running home. Petey came down the stairs to greet him, wagging his tail, just like normal, like, hi, Dad, glad to see you. But he knew that there had been an accident. Petey was covered in blood from head to toe. So he grabbed Petey, and we have a big yard that's fenced in, and he threw him in the backyard, and he came upstairs. And I didn't know whether he was going to pass out or what he was going to do, but adrenaline kicked in, and he grabbed his phone and he went 911. His phone locked up with a blue ring around it. Nobody answered. He grabbed my phone. He pushed 911. Nobody answered. Our phones were completely locked up, and nobody was saying, can we help you? And the whole time, I'm just in shock and so much pain. And all I want to do is scream like a wild animal. And I needed to be still as much as I could. He got a towel and he wrapped me up and he says, Gloria, I don't know what's going on with the phone, but we've got to go to the rescue squad. Fortunately, we live across the street from a rescue squad. I don't know how I did it. I guess it was the grace of God. He put all of my body parts into a towel, held me underneath, and we went down a flight of stairs, got outside, went down another flight of stairs, and I got in his big truck. His truck is huge. I don't know how I did it. We went across the street. We didn't see any cars, and he started beating on the doors, and there wasn't anybody at the rescue squad. And I'm thinking, if I don't get help soon, this is not going to end well. And he just happened to see a red button, and he pushed the red button that was at the top of the door, and a voice came through and said, may we help you? And he said, I need an ambulance. My wife is very injured. They said, we'll be there in 2 minutes. And I thought that was the longest 2 minutes of my entire life. They came in and everybody was running around me, but they were whispering. And when they're whispering, that's not good, because they're saying Pegasus, and Pegasus in our town is the helicopter. And they were frantic, and the whole time people were trying, the people in the rescue squad were trying to get the bleeding to stop, to get me to calm down a little bit, and they were trying to open my arms up and my hands, which I don't even know how they did it or how they could do it, but they started an IV in my foot, and they said the Pegasus won't fly today. It's too windy. And at that point, I knew that I didn't have time to get to a hospital. So fortunately, we happened to be friends with the people in the rescue squad, and it was my son-in-law works there, Declan, and he got on the phone and he started dialing all his best friends, the closest buddies he had. He said, "This is my mother-in-law. Please, somebody, please do the helicopter." He got a young lady. I still have puppies. He got a young lady to meet him at the area hospital, which was about 10 minutes away. They they got me in the rescue squad and they got me to the hospital. I don't really remember. I think they were going about 120 miles an hour. The only thing I remember is when they got me out of the rescue squad, I could hear the blades. The blades were choo-choo, 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 choo-choo. And they got me in the helicopter, but I was starting to fade. I was starting to fade to black, and my life was passing before me. Um, I could feel movies of my life passing before me. And I knew, and I said to myself, I'm really dying. I am checking out. I am really dying. And then everything went black. So in the meantime, of course, the helicopter's talking to the surgeons, and I happened to get the surgeon that teaches all the doctors at UVA, Dr. Shabra. He is the king of all hand and arm surgeries. He was leaving. It was Good Friday. He was walking out the door and he heard the call come in and he said, I got to go back. He called his doctors. He got 4 doctors and they got a trauma team and they got me in there and they had to stabilize my life. He didn't think I was going to make it because I'd lost so much blood. So they were starting the blood transfusions, and they said my husband happened to drive over there going 120 miles an hour because he was so scared. He actually heard Pegasus coming in. It was COVID. Nobody was in the hospital. They wouldn't let anybody in the hospital. And they tried to get him out and he wouldn't leave. And he said, my wife's up there and she may die. So the doctors came out and told him, I don't think she's going to make it. You need to come back. And at that point, they had the breathing tube down me and they said, you need to say what you need to say because it doesn't look good. I don't know what that conversation was, but I'm sure it was the hardest one that he ever had to do. And he left and he sat out in the room for about 6 hours, not knowing if I was dead or alive. Oh, what do you want me to tell about what happened when I woke up? I don't remember when I woke up, and I don't know how many hours it was. But when I woke up, there was I had the tube down my throat, and I knew there was people around me, and my husband was there in the room. And I heard the nurse go, she's not going to like this when I pull this out. She's going to gag. And I assumed that the surgery was over. And when I opened my eyes, I told my husband, I just had a conversation with Jesus. He was just right here. He asked me if I wanted to go or stay. And I didn't speak, but I told him, please let me be a grandmother. I've waited my whole life to be a grandmother. Please let me go back. And my eyes woken up and when my eyes opened, my husband said they sparkled. She said they sparkled and I had such a wonderful glow. And the first question I asked did Doolittle make it? And that was the little Chihuahua. That was the first thing I needed to know. I just I just hated the fact that, I'm going to lose 2 dogs here. And that was just, they're like my children. And they said Doolittle did make it. They took him to surgery and he's going to make it. He's going to live. And the second question I asked was, do I have hands? I didn't even know if I had hands. I had no idea. I felt like I had something, but I felt like I had arms and they had wrapped me up so thick that and my arms were way up here. And the only thing that I had was little bloody fingertips, both arms, little bloody fingertips, nothing else. They didn't know what was going to happen, but 4 doctors worked on me 12 complete hours. And they thought they were going to have to take the veins from my leg and replace it into my hands, but they didn't have to. They put steel bars inside of me and big screws and everything, I guess, to secure And they told me they did not know whether it was going to be successful or not. They did not know if my hands were going to respond or if I would get blood flow in them. And we'd have to wait 3 days. So for 3 days, all the doctors came in and just pinched. The ends of my fingers just pinched. And I remember after the third day, the man said, "Miss Munson, you're about the luckiest patient I've ever seen in my life. I see blood flow and I see it's taking, and we think you're going to be able to use your hands." That was good news. But when you're in that position and you can't see your hands or arms and you know something has horribly happened and you have pain so bad that you don't even want to look, and your padding on your arms is so big you seem like a snowman, you think to yourself, I don't care. I don't know what just happened to me, but it's not good, but I don't want to be here. So they kept me in the hospital 10 days, and in those 10 days they did another surgery. After they put the screws and everything into my hands and arms, they did a skin graft on me. And that was the second surgery where they took me back and removed the skin from my leg and put it on my arms, both arms, which is right here. That's a skin graft, because they didn't even have enough skin to put me back together from the injury. And to do two at one time was not fun. They had to change my bandages daily, which means the gauze stuck to everything. I had thousands of staples and stitches, and it was the most painful thing that I ever had to go through, was them taking all that off and putting new back on. I would wait till the very last minute of the day, and after they got one done, I was like, I don't want to do the other one. Please don't make me do the other one. So in the meantime, my wedding rings were on, and my finger had turned black. Black, I mean black, like a witch's finger. It was no color in it whatsoever. It was the ugliest thing I ever saw. And of course, the nurse that would come to visit me kept calling the doctor, going, "This isn't good. You need to have her come back in." And so it's like, I think it was the third day that I went back in, and I was going to have ring amputation. I mean, that was going to amputate my ring finger. And then that was one surgery, and that was no brainer. That was like it was just gone. And that was easy peasy after what I had been through. But the ring finger was right here. And the reason I lost it is because my ring finger, when I had the accident, cut off my circulation to that finger, and I lost it. A couple days later, this pinky right here, they did surgery on this twice, because what happened was it got a big hook in it and it wouldn't lay flat or anything. So they amputated it a little bit more, and it still wasn't working well. And the doctor said, "I don't know whether to go ahead and take your pinky off or not." And after his consultation, they decided to leave this part of the pinky on so that I would have a hand structure. He said if he took it off, that my hand would go into a little ball and that I probably wouldn't be able to use it anymore at all. So you can see this is one hand, and the arms both look the same. They are both very, very scarred up, and they both have skin grafting on them. This one survived. This one only has the middle finger that sticks up all the time, but I'm glad to still have my fingers. But the injury went right on into my palm, and it goes all the way into the crease of my fold into this arm. So not only did I have one hand full of finger amputations, I had two arms full of metal and stitches and scars and surgeries. And this arm, after 2 months, grew crooked, and the bone was crooked, and they had to go back in and break my arm and reset it again because it was crooked. That was extremely painful too, and they had to make it straight again. So over and all, I've had like 5 surgeries, and it was a very long process and a lot of physical therapy, a lot of opening and closing, grabbing things. But when I first had my injury, all I could do was move my fingers. This was it on both hands. I couldn't like get anything, do anything. It was all I could do. So it's been a long 4 years. I think it was 5 surgeries that I've had, but there is beauty after all of this. There really is beauty. You have to trust the system because there's good things that can happen when you think your world has fallen apart. I uh, I was at hand therapy and I said something about a prosthetic and I said, "Do you think I could get one?" I mean, they said that I don't see any reason why you couldn't. So I ran back to my surgeon and I said, "Dr. Shabra, I think I'd like a prosthetic." And he said, "No, you don't need a prosthetic, Gloria. You have your pincher. That's all you need to get through in life is just your little pincher. That's the main part of your hand. I think a prosthetic would just get in the way." And I looked at him and I said, "Dr. Shabra, first of all, you're not a woman. And second of all, you've never lost a finger. I want a prosthetic." And he said, "I'm going to write the script, Gloria, but I don't think you're going to like it." Well, my heart was broken because I thought, I got to do something. I don't want to spend the last quarter of my life with disfigurement, and nothing can touch this little finger because it is so sensitive. I hit the ceiling. So a lot of emotions were going through me, but I kept on and on about wanting a prosthetic. And they made a meeting with me at Virginia Prosthetics here in my hometown, and it was love at first sight. I love my fitter, Brianna, and she made me feel beautiful from the day that I went in there and listened to everything I said. And we worked together for 3 months and did silicone molds and let me pick out colors and let me pick out patterns and kept asking me, "Is this hurt? Is this rubbing?" and all this type of stuff, all these questions. And I can remember when they put the trial on, I didn't want to take it off. I didn't want to go home without it. It felt like the warmest, coolest glove that I ever had in my life. It was like heaven. But unfortunately, I had to give it back because she had to send it back to the company to actually make the real prosthetic. I also went to UVA to get a prosthetic, which is the hospital up there, and they had a team of doctors talk to me like the Big Bang Theory. But they did not get back in touch with me. It had been over 6 months, and I was very discouraged because I was waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally, I just called them up and said, "I'm not going to get my prosthetic from you guys. I'm going to go with a local maker here in town." They'd go, "Why?" I said, "Because I've been sitting here for 6 months, and I don't want to live like this. You got to help me." So I let them go and went with a local prosthetic fitter here in my hometown.
You know, I I have to say your story brought tears. Um, a lot of emotions. I love my animals too, and
You might want to tell them the secret of we had the exact same dog
we did at one
with
time,
almost the same markings.
and we got a lot of scars, similar scars too.
We do. We both have the hole, the well, I call it, the little well.
and and that's the whole thing about writing my book and doing this YouTube channel is to tell our stories. Because I've learned that, life can change in a split second.
Seconds.
And through all my peer support calls and stuff, so many different ways it can change. I mean, I've heard and met individuals that have lost limbs because of a kidney infection, passing a kidney stone. And, but also we're very similar in the fact, and within my book, I have a chapter on multidisciplinary teams. And I, like you did, had to really fight for everything I got. My surgeon did, I love him to death. I have outdone you on surgeries. One hand, and I'm up to 9 surgeries so far on my one hand. But the pain management, I had to, advocate for pain management. I had, well, at the initial time of my accident, I had advocate nurse, and she got me into trauma counseling right away, and that was good. But I love the doctors to death for putting us back together, saving our lives, putting us back together. But again, and this is why I want to get more stories out there. If you have 10 fingers, you have no clue what any of us are going through. And, I don't know the struggles you have every day. We have a lot of similar struggles, but there are differences there. And I do have to show, when you're describing how your arms were all built up, that was my first day in the hospital. And granted, it was only one arm, but basically that's what you were describing, only you had both of them sitting up there. That was
the bloody fingers. All I saw was bloody fingernails. Bloody fingernails.
Yeah, yours was higher up. My fingers got pulled off, so mine was covered up clear to the end. But then, it was so crazy because at the time of my accident, I was going to CrossFit 5 times a week. I was in great shape. And I remember that the respiratory therapist came into my room that first day, and she goes, "We need to get you up and we need to get you walking." And it about killed me to go 10 feet to the door and back. And I get back in bed, and I'm just like, what in the heck? I can do half marathons. I can do all this stuff, and I can barely, without help, make it to the door 10 feet away. And, but again, it's those struggles. And you got effects to both hands. So what are your big struggles?
Well, I feel like I've completely overcome 98% of my obstacles. There's some things that, here's a stupid little girl thing. If I've got my prosthetic on and my fingers are up, it gets snagged in my hair, gets stuck, and that's not fun. Also, I've got to keep my fingers in at all times or I poke people. I'm a hugger, lover, and I've got pets and stuff, and I will actually really poke them, and it's not fun. I cannot button a button. I cannot turn a doorknob. I cannot open a water bottle, and I can't open any jar of anything because I don't have enough strength in my arms anymore. It is difficult to carry 2 grocery bags. I do have my prosthetic for the other hand, but I have to be careful how much is in it because it will hurt really bad. And one of the biggest struggle I have is cold. The cold will stop me so fast, and I will get in so much pain so fast that I've got to get a heating pad or something, or a hot bath, and I've got to get my fingers and hands back to a right temperature, or I cry. I literally cry. And that to me so wimpy because I've always been a go with the flow girl. But if it's cold outside, I think twice about how long I'm going to be out and what is the temperature.
And I'm sitting here nodding my head because a lot of the same things. So I have a heating pad next to my bed. I have heated mittens that are with me in a backpack every day, 365 days a year, because I actually use them as one of my therapies for pain management. Within myself, I try and elevate my heart rate to get my pain to go down, the oxygen, adrenaline, endorphins, all of that. And if that doesn't work, then I'll put my heated mitten on and try and get it to calm down. And if that doesn't work, then it's aspirin, Tylenol, and I slowly step it up until I find the relief. I do have a prescription for Lyrica for pain management and stuff, but that's my last result. I don't want to get stuck on pain pills and such. You know, I've had friends that have got addicted to things and lost limbs. You know, my heart was just sitting there bleeding because I have the same issues with cold. When the temperature starts to drop, and I want to say probably if it drops below 60 during the day, I literally will put just glove liner on this hand just to walk out if I'm walking out to the car and back. Because I feel you, once the coldness, which creates pain, gets into my hand, it takes forever to get it back out. And like you say, you get in the hot tub. With another struggle I'm starting to deal with overuse issues on my good side, because if engineers out there, how do you open a bottle? You grab it with both hands and you twist opposingly. So you're splitting the forces between both hands. Well, I have the same challenges in a sense. So when I'm opening a bottle, it's between the legs, it's the armpit, the elbow crease, whatever is convenient. And I'm torquing the whole torque with my other hand. So that has created issues, overuse and stuff on that side of my body. And the surgeons, again, I love them and stuff, but sometimes it's tunnel vision and they just don't get the full picture. They worry about their slice of the pie. And another chapter in my book is on the multidisciplinary teams. And the best outcomes I've seen for everybody, least amount of surgeries and everything, are the ones that have these multidisciplinary teams that have cosmetic surgeons, vascular surgeons, pain management, trauma counseling, because it's a trauma. You went through a hell of a lot, pardon the French, but you know, it brought me to tears to hear your story. But also, you know, that you have triumphs also.
I do. I do. I do. You were go back to the pain. I did have to go to a pain clinic. I had to beg. And I've been to 2 pain clinics, and they do have my pain under control. Do I like to take pain meds? No, but I do not like to stay in bed 24 hours a day and not be social either. And sometimes you have to take things so that you are
Balance.
not in pain all the time. You have to pick and choose. Everybody knows I hate it. I hate it, but I also don't like not being social. And honest to goodness, if I didn't have pain relief, I wouldn't have a life. I would not get out of bed. I don't I don't like feeling pain is a horrible, horrible thing. And the nerve damage that I have is horrendous. And it's not just in one hand, it's 2 hands, 2 arms, and the scar tissue is pretty bad. But it now is pretty much under control. And when I got my prosthetic, I think the flowers started to bloom because I was protected, for one, because I wasn't going to hit anything with this mutilated arm or hand. And I felt pretty again. I'd always been a speaker for Weight Watchers for 25 years, always dressed up, talking to people, facilitating conversations. I wouldn't have gone back into doing anything like that with my hand feeling and looking like this. It's I know a lot of people go, well, I don't have arms or I don't have legs, but I used to have them. And it's different when they get taken away from you, and then you end up with something that doesn't look normal. And plus you've got the pain on top of it. So it consumes your entire life. And it is something that I was going to do everything possible to get my life back. 4 years it's been, I've been wearing my, I call her Miss Lily. And I designed her with the lace. I got some lace material that I loved, and I love pink colors. And I was able to pick out my fingers, and we were choosing between different types of fingers. But if I got the other type, you were going to see my nub through it, and I didn't want to see my nub through it. I just don't like to see my nub. But on this prosthetic, they tuck it away in this little area here, and nobody ever sees it, and it has its own little bed in there, and it's really protected. And the day that I got this, I was probably just as happy like the day I got married, because I felt like my life was given back to me. And I'm grateful. I am grateful. There were some struggles like getting it on and taking it off. You just don't put it on like a glove. You have to oil up or use a very lubricant, and you have to get it all the way up to where the beginning is, because you start way out here at the edge and then you bring it in. And that was a struggle for a long time, putting it on and taking it off, and losing it. Oh my, I've lost it like 3 times. That's the worst feeling in the world. You can't find your hand. Could you go through the house saying, have you seen my hand? And you have a solution to that. What is it?
Yeah, it's an
What is
Apple
it?
AirTag. I can
And
find my hand anywhere in the world.
oh, I'm going to learn about that. My son will probably help me get one of those. But I have spent
It's
hours
built right
looking.
into the silicone on mine, and um, talk to them about setting it up, because our struggles are, well, you talk about the pain and how it helped mentally getting your prosthesis. Within mine, when I put it on, I tell everyone it lowers my anxiety level. And I liken it to shaking a hand or holding a hand. It feels like a friend, you know, and it gives me a lot of comfort putting mine on. Yeah,
It
I
feels like
feel
somebody wrapped me up in a blanket and now I'm all secure and I feel good. And I just love it. I absolutely love it. And I would be very sad if I lost it or I couldn't wear it or something happened. But to me, this is a BMW. This is the best that you can get after finger amputation. This is the cream of the crop. They do cost a lot of money. I do know that some people don't get approved for insurance, but the place that I go has payment plans and they work with you and you can make payments that you can afford. And I know roughly $20,000 sounds like a car, but if it saves your mental anguish and it gives you comfort and it protects your hand, I would probably do anything to make the payments to get one from me. And my goal is, and my dream is that anybody that's lost a body part, that insurance company wouldn't fight them. They would say, "You get what you want." That would be my dream.
and yeah, and also, you know, I have the point digits, same as you're wearing, but I also have a myoelectric eye digits. And, you know, I say we should be able to get um, whatever we need. And, you know, it's just like, do you only have one pair of shoes you wear?
Exactly. No,
You have your everyday shoes,
I'm jealous. You
dress
have
shoes.
two. I only have one.
Yeah.
But I am in the process. My silicone is getting very loose and it's hurting a little bit. My fingers have shifted more um to the left and it's not fitting like it did because my bone structure changed. And so we don't know what's going to happen, but I'm hoping that I'm going to be approved to get a new one.
Yeah. And it another thing, it is a journey. You know, I've had 9 surgeries over 5 years. And the last couple of surgeries were revision surgeries, taking stuff away. Um, I can tell you also, I can't say how long. My crystal ball just isn't quite that sharp, but there is in the future digits that will help alleviate you snagging your hair when you're rubbing your fingers through
Well, here's the
it.
worst part, Jeff. Here's the worst part. I use extra hair, and if I get it snagged, I'm going to die of embarrassment. If it takes my extra little bun off my head in front of people, I will. Not only don't I have fingers, now I don't have hair at the same time.
And but again, I know there's some things in the works for, they call them the Gen 3 fingers. The I don't know exactly when they're gonna be out on the market, but I do know there's stuff in the works there.
I
Um,
will tell you that the end of the fingers have little silicone grips. Mine came off all the time. They came off and she would have to keep putting them on. I think she cemented and glued them on the last time.
oh,
They've been on for 3 months now and I don't like wearing this without them because this scratches things and it's not good and it scratches furniture and everything.
yeah, actually, they they have another cone that actually goes over the whole tip. It looks like a little comb. I
Oh, okay.
I don't like those because they only last about a day for me. And because they're cone shaped, since they start to stretch a little bit, they just fall off at that point in time. But I am one of the first users from Point Design, and my first set of fingers did not have the rubber tip, did not have the rubber bands to them. And anytime I would grab something that was glass or metal or something, like I joke, if I was shaking up a spray paint can, the whole time I'm sitting there, hold tighter, hold tighter, hold tighter, because I was afraid I was going to throw it across the room because we don't have touch feeling.
Right.
And metal against metal, there was no gripping action.
Right.
You know, things have changed so much. And again, this is part of why I want to share our stories for even the surgeons to understand. Is kind of a deficiency within the system. That surgeon has to sign a script.
Yes.
Authorizing the insurance company to pay. But those surgeons, they don't deal with the prosthetics because that's someone else.
Yes.
So
they did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah. And I've heard so many times, and even my surgeon, when I went to him and told him what I wanted and stuff, he just goes, okay, you'll have to let me know, what's out there and stuff. He had no clue. And as he's watched me over the years, it's so funny because we early on, I again, appearance, I didn't look at my hand for probably 4-6 weeks after my accident because of the same appearance issues and stuff. I'd go for a bandage change and I made him put a towel over my head or I looked away. And he goes, you need to look at this. You need to accept it. And I go, Doc, I accept my fingers aren't growing back. What I don't want to accept is a picture, because you've told me more than likely what I end up with isn't going to be what I have today. I don't want to accept that picture and then you come to me a year down the road and say, sorry, your picture's changing. And it's a journey for all of us. Every day is different. Our challenges are different. The struggles, buttons are a challenge. I don't have a pair of shoes that have regular laces.
Oh.
I can tie a lace, but it takes quite a bit of time to do it.
Yes.
And I call it cherry picking and choosing your battles. So every pair of shoes that I have lock laces in them. And I have them adjusted to the point where they are slip-ons. And if I'm going running or I need them a little tighter, then I just take and pull them up and tighten them up a little bit. I use a button tool to do buttons.
Yeah, I had to go back to the old lady elastic jeans. I love jeans, but I cannot do the metal button in And I'm so like sad. So it was a journey trying to find blue jeans that I liked that I could pull up. I call them the old lady elastic jeans. But I was stuck in the bathroom at least 20 minutes trying to button my button jeans, trying to come out of the room, and I could not button my jeans. And it was so embarrassing.
Yeah,
I've given up that now. I'm not going to put myself in that position again.
I wear a lot of sweatpants
Hmm.
a lot of times for similar reasons. I wear a lot of, gym shorts and stuff when it gets warm, again, for those simple reasons and stuff. Um, do you have any closing thoughts that you want people to know?
I do. There's a lot of bad things that happen to people, and it's not pretty, but that's life. And I wasn't going to get stuck in feeling sorry for myself. There was a saying that Joyce Meyer said that I carry with me. You can be pitiful or powerful. You choose the one that you want to be. And I did not want to spend the last quarter of my life feeling sorry for myself, feeling ugly, worrying about this injury. I need some living to do. I want cruises to go on. I want to play with my grandkids. I want to play with my dogs. I want to be able to have a life without thinking back to all the tragedy that happened. All I want to do now is to help people get past what has happened to them and hopefully give them a little bit of inspiration. And you just have to put one foot in front of the other. Are there days I cry? Oh, yeah, there's days I cry. But most of the days I smile and be pushy with the prosthetic because it's like getting a new car. It's cool and people love it. I work in an antique store and I wrap packages all the time. And 9 out of 10 people ask me, can you tell me about what you have on your hand? Of course, it's pink and it's got some lace to it. They're like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, yeah, prosthetics have come a long way. And I named her Lily. She's part of my life. And I love her. And this is the way the world is coming to. It's coming to more comfortable, prettier things where you enjoy wearing it rather than forcing yourself to wear it. I want to wear my prosthetic. And I urge all of you, even if you've lost one finger, and you feel inadequate and you feel like you just want a replacement there or something where it will make you feel normal, you are going to be a badass when you get this. You are going to be a badass because people, they love it. I love it. And it's been the best thing that's ever happened.
And that's true. Life is a journey, and we're all different in our journeys and stuff. I advocate for our rights to have them because that's the other thing. Us finger partial hands are the most denied prosthetic wise and stuff. And of course, it's always by individuals that have 10 fingers that are making that denial
Exactly.
to us, assuming that they know what we feel like. And, whether we wear it an hour a day or, mine fits great. And I've wore mine up to 40 hours when I've been traveling straight through. And that's pretty much unheard of. There's very few people, upper or lowers, that wear a prosthesis that long. But
Right.
also, just FYI for everyone that's watching and listening to this, if you are an amputee and you do get denied by an insurance company, I advocate for everyone, and I will write a letter to an insurance company, an attorney, a doctor, whoever it is, because only an amputee knows what it feels like to have a prosthesis. And I know what this has given me in all aspects, mental, physical, just life in general. It's made my life so much better. Has it made it perfect? No, it has not. There's nothing out there that replaces original equipment, but it does make my life a whole lot better.
My dream for you and for all of the amputees out there is that anytime anybody comes in and has to get anything, any of their fingers taken off, that they hand them your book, Jeff, and they say, read this because you're going to find some very valuable information in it from somebody that knows. And that's my dream, that all the hospitals and doctors will have your book to be able to hand out to people, because there is nothing out there. I searched everywhere to find something to help me, and I couldn't.
And that's the same thing. That's the reason I wrote the book. No one came in the hospital and talked to me. You know, friends and family, yeah. I never had an amputee come and talk to me and tell me. The doctors, the surgeons, the nurses, they tell you, oh, you'll get along, it'll be okay, and stuff. You'll adapt. But again, they all have 10 fingers. They don't know what we're feeling.
We have to go home and sit in a bed, basically, or a chair or recliner for quite a few weeks. For me, it was 3 months until I learned to walk again and dress again and feed myself again and go to the bathroom by myself again. All these things I had to relearn. And uh, you, if you had this book, it would have given me some security and some hope and some direction from beginning to end and where to even go, because I had to gather all this information myself while I was in pain, and I just felt lost. Now that I'm at where I'm at, and I've met you, Jeff, and now I have the book, which I ordered on Amazon. That's supposed to come today. I am going to give you feedback on that, but information is so valuable, and this is the only thing that I found. And there's only one um, Facebook group that I joined, which has been wonderful. It's gotten better and better, but keep keep in the loop, because that's where you find out the bigger and better things. Just from this conversation, Jeff, I learned that I'm not going to lose my next prosthetic because of the little information you told me about the finder. So you find good stuff and good stuff. So I'm so looking forward to that. I've enjoyed this conversation. You've been a real joy.
Oh yeah. You know, it's I had a friend of mine that had her prosthesis stolen out of her vehicle.
I've heard that happening.
That was the first thing. But then, you know, I travel a lot. And like one time I was speaking in London, I come home and I've been flying for 13 hours. I'm up for 24, 26 hours, something like that. Friend picks me up at the airport, and it's an hour drive home from the airport. And the first thing I did back then, it was before I had a good, nice 3D printed frame, I took and threw my hand in the back of the car, you know, and I get home, I crash for 6, 8 hours, and I wake up and it's like, where did I leave my hand? You know? And it's so funny because I don't always travel with both hands and stuff, but I can take and pull up my phone and, oh, my other hand's
I love it.
at home,
I love it.
you know?
Yeah, I've now taught myself how to put the prosthetic in the same place every single time. Before that, I had a big clear vase that you would put flowers in, and I had it on a table, and I would stick it in there every single night because I could see it and I knew where it was. But now that I know how important it is. It is so important that I make sure it's in the same place. Don't just take it off and lay it anywhere because you're going to lose it. And it's part of you. And uh, just get one of those things that has the locator on it. I mean, it's a crazy world out here with this, but I promise it gets better and better and better. And I know that this great man that's helping us all out will just keep on with the YouTube channel. 5 years from now, it'll probably be more fabulous than it is today.
Yeah, there is some neat stuff that I'm aware of in the works from different manufacturers and stuff. And I am so excited and happy to see what the future has for us.
Would you tell them for girls that we want jewels on them, some diamonds, maybe some pretty jewels on them, that sparkle and stuff like that? I
Well,
actually glued little diamonds in these little, well, they were rhinestones in these little things, but they kept coming off. But that looked so cool for a girl. So, make them girly for us girls out there.
the 3D printed is the only way to go. The technology is out there where they can print them in multi different colors and everything. It's cool what is possible. But
Well, I hope that they become affordable so that I can have one in every color. Match my outfits.
just like the shoes, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much,
Oh,
Gloria.
I had a great time. I was looking forward to this all day.
Oh yeah.
I've done a lot of speaking in churches, and I've also done a news story on our local news, and I've also done a podcast for a church. And every time I speak, I feel so wonderful that I'm able to maybe help that one person that might be struggling, and it was all worth it for me.
And that's what it is. Each one, all I care about is one person. If we can
Yeah,
help one person, we can help a community. And
absolutely.
with that, thank you very
You are
much.
so welcome. Have a good evening.
You too.
Mhm.